Krieg-Ta-Kill crouched behind the twisted remains of what had once been a majestic crystal spire, his carapace vibrating with the constant barrage of explosions around him. The acrid smell of burnt chitin and ozone filled his sensory pits, a grim reminder of how badly the war was going for the hive. When the matriarch had declared war on the newly discovered human territories, there had been celebration throughout the hive worlds. Humans were fragmented, primitive, barely able to achieve faster than light travel. It should have been an easy conquest, a mere footnote in the glorious expansion of the hive. How wrong they had been. A plasma bolt sizzled past Krieg-Ta-Kill's head, snapping him back to the present. He chittered a quick prayer to the hive mind and returned fire, his bioorganic rifle spitting corrosive projectiles towards the human lines. "Brother, we must fall back." The telepathic cry came from HFY, Krieg-Ta-Kill's clutch sister. Her normally iridescent carapace was dull with dust and scored by near misses. Krieg-Ta-Kill's compound eyes swiveled, taking in the battlefield. The once beautiful capital city of Hive World Zandar was now a hellscape of broken buildings and burning wreckage, and everywhere, the relentless advance of the humans. They moved like a force of nature, these pink-skinned demons. Where the hive fought with the perfect coordination of a unified mind, the humans seemed to operate on pure, terrifying instinct. Each one fought as if it were a queen protecting its nest, with a ferocity that defied logic. Negative, Krieg-Ta-Kill replied, his mandibles clicking in determination. The matriarch's orders are clear. We hold this line, or we die trying. A chorus of affirmatives echoed through the hive mind link. Around him, Krieg-Ta-Kill could sense his brothers and sisters steeling themselves for another push. That's when he heard it. A low, thrumming sound that seemed to vibrate through his very exoskeleton. Krieg-Ta-Kill's antennae twitched in alarm as he realized what it was. "Drop ships," he screamed both vocally and telepathically. "Above us." But it was too late. The human vessels seemed to materialize out of thin air, their stealth systems rendering them invisible until the very last second. Hatches opened, and dark shapes began to fall from the sky. Krieg-Ta-Kill watched in horror as the human elites, marines he had heard them called, descended on jump jets of blue flame. They moved with a fluid grace that belied their bulky armor, weapons already blazing before they hit the ground. For the hive's HFY shrieked, charging from cover with reckless bravery. Krieg-Ta-Kill saw her bio-rifle spit a stream of acid that caught one of the humans full in the chest. For a moment he felt a surge of hope. Surely no armor could withstand the hive's most potent biological weapons. But then, impossibly, the human kept coming. Its armor sizzled and smoked, but it raised its weapon and fired a burst that turned HFY into a fine mist of chitin and ichor. "Impossible," Krieg-Ta-Kill breathed, his mind reeling from the severed connection to his clutch sister. All around him, the scene repeated itself. The hive warriors fought with all the courage and coordination their species was known for, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. Humans shrugged off wounds that should have been fatal, countered tactics that had won the hive 1,000 worlds, and moved with a synchronicity that rivaled the hive mind itself. As Krieg-Ta-Kill watched his brothers and sisters fall one by one, a terrible realization dawned on him. The matriarch had been wrong. They all had been wrong. Humans weren't primitive. They weren't easy prey. They were something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never seen before. And as the battle raged on, as the capital of Zandar burned around him, Krieg-Ta-Kill began to understand the terrible truth. They had gone to war with an enemy they didn't understand, and now they were paying the price. The world had become a cacophony of screams, explosions, and the sizzle of energy weapons. Krieg-Ta-Kill scrambled from one piece of cover to another, his chitinous legs scrabbling against debris-strewn ground. The hive mind link, once a comforting chorus of millions, had dwindled to a handful of desperate voices. "Sector 7 has fallen," came a panicked cry through the link. "They're everywhere," screeched another. "The matriarch, she's gone silent," a third voice whispered, heavy with despair. Krieg-Ta-Kill's mandibles clicked in distress. Without the matriarch's guidance, they were lost. He risked a glance over his cover and immediately wished he hadn't. The humans were advancing with terrifying efficiency, their movements a brutal dance of death. A group of hive warriors made a valiant stand nearby, their bio-rifles spewing corrosive death. For a moment it seemed they might push the humans back. Then, with a sound like thunder, a massive human in even bulkier armor landed in their midst. It moved with impossible speed for its size, a giant hammer crackling with energy in its hands. By the first egg, Crick-Ta-Kill breathed, as he watched the giant human decimate the entire group in seconds. Chitin cracked, ichor sprayed, and screams cut short filled the hive mind link before winking out one by one. Desperation clawed at Crick-Ta-Kill's mind. He had to do something, anything. With a chittering war cry, he leapt from cover, his bio-rifle spraying a wide arc of acid. 2 humans went down, their armor sizzling and melting. A fierce joy surged through Crick-Ta-Kill. They could be killed. His triumph was short-lived. A searing pain lanced through his lower right leg, and he tumbled to the ground. One of the humans had shot it clean off. As he struggled to rise, working past the agony, Crick-Ta-Kill saw something that froze his hemolymph. The human he had melted with acid was getting back up. Its armor was in ruins, its pink skin blistered and burned, but its eyes blazed with an unholy fire. It charged at Crick-Ta-Kill with a roar that seemed to shake the very air. Crick-Ta-Kill fired desperately, pouring everything his weapon had into the advancing monster. The human's flesh sloughed off, muscles dissolved, and still it came. At the last moment, another human tackled its comrade, pulling it back. "Evans, stand down." "Medivac," now the second human shouted. As Crick-Ta-Kill watched in horror, more humans swarmed the area. Some secured the wounded warrior, while others turned their attention to him. He tried to crawl away, but his injured leg left him pathetically slow. A boot pressed down on his back, pinning him in place. Crick-Ta-Kill's antennae quivered as he realized the horrible truth: he was the only one left. The hive mind link was silent, save for his own terrified thoughts. Well, a voice said above him, somehow translated into perfect hive speak. "Looks like we've got ourselves a survivor." Crick-Ta-Kill's compound eyes swiveled, taking in the circle of humans surrounding him. Their armor was scorched, dented, and in some cases partially melted, but they stood tall and unbroken. In that moment, he understood with perfect clarity why the hive was losing this war. The humans weren't just warriors. They were something else entirely, something that thrived in the chaos and carnage of battle in a way his people could never comprehend. As the human above him began to ask questions, demands for information about the hive's defenses and plans, Crick-Ta-Kill found himself facing a terrible choice: betray everything he had ever known, or face whatever horrors these war beings had in store for him. The battle was over, but Crick-Ta-Kill's true ordeal was just beginning. Crick-Ta-Kill's antennae drooped as he lay immobilized, surrounded by the terrifying human warriors. The acrid smell of burnt chitin and the metallic tang of human blood mingled in the air, a potent reminder of the battle's ferocity. "Where is your hive?" the translated voice crackled through a device held by one of the humans. "How many more of you are there?" Crick-Ta-Kill's mandibles clicked in defiance. Even faced with these monsters, he couldn't betray his people. I will tell you nothing," he managed, his translator struggling to convey the mix of fear and determination in his voice. A human in more ornate armor stepped forward, likely their leader. "Listen, Bug," it said, its tone unnervingly casual given the circumstances. "This can go 2 ways. You talk or we make you talk. Trust me, you don't want the second option." As if to emphasize the point, another human hefted a wicked-looking device that crackled with energy. Crick-Ta-Kill's compound eyes widened in terror. But something else stirred within him, a desperate curiosity. He had to know, had to understand what made these beings so horrifyingly effective in battle. "Why?" Crick-Ta-Kill chittered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you so fierce? How can you fight like this?" The humans paused, exchanging glances. Then, to Crick-Ta-Kill's surprise, they laughed. It was a chilling sound, devoid of real mirth, more a release of tension than anything else. The leader crouched down, bringing its face level with Crick-Ta-Kill's. "You really want to know?" it asked, its voice a mix of amusement and something darker. "It's simple, really. You view yourself and those in your hive as equals. Humanity views itself in war as equals. Humans in war are one and the same." Crick-Ta-Kill's mind reeled at the implication. I don't understand," he stammered. The human's lips curled into what Crick-Ta-Kill had learned was called a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Of course you don't. Your people made the mistake of starting a war with war itself." As the words sank in, Crick-Ta-Kill felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. The humans around him nodded in grim agreement with their leader's words. "We were forged in conflict," another human chimed in. "Shaped by it. Where your hive seeks unity, we thrive in chaos. Every human is a battleground, every mind a war room." "You thought us weak, because we fight amongst ourselves," added a third. "But that's our strength. We've been waging war since before we left our cradle world. Against nature, against each other, against our very selves." The leader stood, looking down at Crick-Ta-Kill with something akin to pity. "When you attacked our colonies, you didn't start a war. You just gave us a new front in the endless conflict that is humanity." In that moment, Crick-Ta-Kill understood the full magnitude of the hive's mistake. They had evaluated humans as they would any other species, looking at their technology, their unity, their apparent strength. But they had failed to grasp the fundamental nature of humanity itself. These weren't just warriors. They were the living embodiment of war, each one a battle-hardened veteran of a conflict that had raged since their species' birth. What will you do with me?" Crick-Ta-Kill asked, his earlier defiance replaced by a bone-deep weariness. The human leader's expression softened slightly. "That depends on you. Cooperate, and you might just help us end this war faster. Resist, and well, let's just say we have a lot of experience in dealing with stubborn opponents." As Crick-Ta-Kill weighed his options, he realized the bitter truth. The war was already lost. It had been lost the moment the hive decided to provoke this race of living weapons. With a sense of resignation, Crick-Ta-Kill began to speak, not of military secrets or hive defenses, but of his people's history, culture, and way of life. If there was to be any hope for his species' survival, it would come through understanding, not conflict. And as he talked, surrounded by the incarnations of war itself, Crick-Ta-Kill silently prayed to the first egg that his words might somehow forge a path towards peace, or at least towards survival in a galaxy that had suddenly become infinitely more terrifying. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe and leave it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.